Thank you, Elder Bob Barker, for that most wonderful and inspiring welcome. First of all, I'd like to recognize and acknowledge that we're gathered on the territory of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh peoples, and give great gratitude for us having this occasion today and for us all to be here for this exciting announcement. I also would like to express great appreciation to the entire port team for hosting us and for the weather for cooperating. I've got sunglasses on my head. I wore them as an omen of good luck, and I hope the sun's going to come out. But what a beautiful place to be holding this announcement. It really is magnificent. So for those of you who haven't met me, my name is Gerri Sinclair, and I'm the BC Innovation Commissioner, which is a pretty funny title, but I kind of like it. I'd like to describe my long career in the innovation space. I kind of always say that I've had a checkered past. But, you know, I work with a lot of young people, and last night they told me that I should not use that term, checkered past, because it's kind of old-fashioned and uncool. And I didn't quite know that, so I consulted my best friends these days, ChatGPT and Pi, the personal intelligence assistant, and asked them, what's wrong with checkered? What's wrong with the word checkered past? And Pi told me that the term is generally used to describe someone who's had a varied or inconsistent background, a history of questionable or risky behavior, no comment to that, and that a more appropriate term might be a colorful history, a rich and diverse experience, or a dynamic career. But those terms sound rather bland and boring and self-congratulatory to me. So I would say that I've had an amazing experience over the course of my career, jumping as in on the checkerboard of life, from my role as an academic to becoming an entrepreneur, a CEO, a government advisor, a corporate director, a strategic management consultant, and a venture capitalist, and some of these several times. And so I guess what I'd like to say, I've seen innovation from all sides now. And during each of these roles, I've been passionate about supporting innovation in this province, which brings me to where we are today, where it is my honor to be the MC for today's event, at which we are going to talk about a project which I've been involved in since its moment of conception, its subsequent birth, its infancy, and its early toddlerhood, and a project of which I am personally so very proud. So that's why it is such an honor for me to be the MC at today's event, and I know we're all looking forward today to hearing more news about the federal support for British Columbia's innovation community, with its specific focus on scaling our technology startups at the same time as helping industry reduce their greenhouse gases and increase their productivity and competitiveness. It's a big, ambitious project, and we're so thrilled to be able to announce it today. We have 5 speakers with us this morning. I mean, we've got a wonderful cast, by the way. The Honourable Harjit Sajjan, Minister of Emergency Preparedness and Minister responsible for the Pacific Economic Development Agency of Canada. The Honourable Mary Ng, Minister of Export Promotion, International Trade and Economic Development. The Honourable Brenda Bailey, Minister of Jobs, Economic Development and Innovation. Nathan Nankivell, VP of Integrated Marketplace, Innovate BC. And Peter Xotta, VP Operations and Supply Chain, Vancouver Fraser Port Authority. Before we actually begin, I want to quickly note that following the formal speaking portion of the event, there will be time for media availability. If you have questions for the ministers, please notify Senior Communications Advisor Haley, who is standing right there. Following any media questions, there will be an opportunity for photos with the ministers. And with that in mind, it gives me great pleasure to introduce our first speaker, Minister Sajjan.
Good morning, everyone. I too would like to first acknowledge that we are gathered on the traditional and unceded lands of the Squamish, Musqueam, Tsleil-Waututh First Nations and Elder Barkers. Thank you very much for your amazing welcome. And I always just want to remind everybody, it's all of us, unless you're First Nations, we're all immigrants to this land. So I just want to personally thank you for welcoming my family and giving my family this amazing opportunities in this wonderful lands. And now my kids will get to share in those joys. Thank you. And thank you, Gerri, for your entrepreneur spirit, your innovation. And I know Mary has told me how much you have worked on this announcement as well. And I also want to take the opportunity to thank Peter and his entire team at the Port of Vancouver for hosting us today. And I also want to take the opportunity to welcome my federal colleagues. First of all, Minister Ng, Mary, it's always a pleasure to be here with you. And I'm so happy that even though I've changed portfolios, that we still get to work together. So if you guys don't know, Mary and I, when I was Minister of International Development, we got to launch the Indo-Pacific strategy together. And we get to come back here again. And so thank you very much for the work that you do and that you will continue to do. And also to my colleagues, members of Parliament, Parm Baines and Wilson Meow, we at Pacific Caucus talk a lot about the port, the innovation, and the economic opportunities, and what Pacific can also do. And also just want to acknowledge Minister Brenda Bailey for your enthusiastic work when it comes to for BC. It's I've been in a number of announcements with you, and it's always a pleasure to not only be here with you, but have our teams collaborate on this very important work. So those of you know that the Port of Vancouver is Canada's largest port, and it's the third largest in North America in terms of the annual tons of cargo. And as you know, it's an extremely dynamic gateway for the domestic and international trade and cruise tourism, and a major economic asset for our country. Now, approximately $305 billion in goods is traded annually through this port. And 2 years ago, we launched PacificCan. When the Prime Minister authorized the creation of PacificCan, just so that you guys, as a reminder, it's a federal economic development agency of Canada that I get to run, and it's a core funding of $110 million that we invest in Canada for great initiatives and creating economic opportunities for the middle class. And so what it means is it's about supporting innovative businesses to grow at home and compete abroad, creating quality jobs for now and especially into the future, and growing a more inclusive economy so that every community has an opportunity to prosper. And today, we are celebrating a very important project in the technology sector that will help meet these goals. On our province, as we all know very proudly, that we are a technology powerhouse. Now, whether in digital, quantum, AI, life sciences, clean tech, our province is home to hundreds of the most promising technology companies in the world. In clean technology alone, half of the Canadian companies named in the 2023 Global Clean Tech 100 list are based right here in British Columbia. Something to be very proud of. These companies are focused on carbon capture, clean transportation, energy management, fuel cells, and hydrogen, just to name a few. They not only provide thousands of high-quality jobs for British Columbians, but they create innovative solutions to reduce our emissions, protect our environment, and most importantly, grow our economy. We know that building a strong economy requires a strong partnerships, like the one that we have with the province and also with Innovate BC. And PacificCan, the province, and Innovate BC are committed to bringing together innovators and industry to boost innovation and business productivity in British Columbia. And that is why today I'm announcing an investment of $9.9 million to Innovate BC to establish and grow the integrated marketplace. And the integrated marketplace provides a platform for BC technology companies to test and operationalize new innovations that address real-world business challenges. The program will create a unique marketplace that matches BC innovators with industry buyers looking for clean tech solutions. Now, this will open doors for local companies to test their technologies and commercialize, sell, and export new products and services. And right here at the Port of Vancouver, this program is already in action. And the port has was recently selected as one of the integrated marketplace industry testbed sites, and its initial project efforts will focus on developing digital tools to support supply chain organizations. by creating tools to better anticipate transport demands and watch container movements in real time. The port expects to increase operational reliability and capacity. And I had the opportunity to, with my colleagues to learn more about the work happening here at the Port of Vancouver's Operational Center earlier this morning. The Operations Center is on task 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, with staff monitoring marine and land activities, from tanker transiting under the second narrows to trucks arriving to transport goods. And I can tell you, I've been to a lot of operational centers as a former Minister of National Defense. I can tell you it's a very impressive operational center. And I saw firsthand how data feeds into the center, like real-time vessel information and container truck GPS systems. This information will be utilized, will help to optimize supply chain activity and build capacity for the Port of Vancouver. There's also an incredible work being done at the Integrated Marketplace, other two testbed sites, at the Vancouver International Airport and also at the Port of Prince Rupert. YVR's project goal is to electrify its support vehicles on the airfield to reduce the operational greenhouse gas emissions. And at the Port of Prince Rupert, tests are being conducted to reduce the use of diesel fuels, which will decarbonize operations and increase the port's competitiveness. The integrated marketplace will help these BC transportation hubs solve their challenges in lowering carbon emissions by matching them with local companies that have the right technology for the job. Now, in turn, this will help BC companies access new customers, markets, and also the investment. And our government is committed to positioning Canada as a global technology leader, especially in clean technology. And BC, Pacific Canada, is advancing this global through projects like the one that I'm announcing today. So I take great pride in the commitments of BC's hardworking entrepreneurs, innovators, and business leaders. This will be just another tool for them to continue their innovations, and I look forward to watching their progress grow. Thank you. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you so much, Minister Sajjan, and for this great support that you've given us, this program. And I also wanted to call out special thanks to Nana Sloan, who's been with us for working on this for, I don't know, more than 2 years, I think, in the making, and the support of Pacifican and her team, your team, has been just tremendous and has gotten us to where we are today. So basically, thank you for this great news, for the Integrated Marketplace Initiative, for BC Industries, and for our entire technology sector. I guess by now you've realized that the Integrated Markets Initiative is a win-win for everyone, for our citizens, for our businesses, for our startup community, and for the air and the water and land of our beautiful resource-rich province. And Pacifican's funding will help us to start having an impact right now and here. Right now, it's next my pleasure to introduce our second speaker and my dear old friend, the Honourable Mary Ng, Minister of Export Promotion, International Trade and Economic Development. Minister Ng was first elected as a Member of Parliament for Markham Thornhill in 2017. She's a devoted community leader and has 20 years of experience in the areas of education, women's leadership, job creation, and entrepreneurship. Minister Ng, as it turns out, is actually the godmother, actually the fairy godmother of integrated markets. 2 years ago, she provided me with the inspiration and guiding vision based on an invitation for the province to collaborate with her department on what she called a cool clean tech project in BC. And that's led to today's announcement. So thank you for coming out for this announcement, Minister Ng, and it gives me great pleasure to turn the podium over to the indomitable Minister Mary Ng.
Whoever is here before, this mic always gets lowered, but now I've probably broken it. No, all right, there we go. Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. Bonjour tout le monde. Thank you so much, Gerri, for taking us through today, to the port team for having us here. Minister Sajjan is right. The last time he and I was on this podium, we launched something else pretty special in the Indo-Pacific strategy. And guess what? Like, the weather is always wonderful like this when I'm in BC, so how great is that? Elder Baker, thank you so much for starting us off in a very good way. And I too want to acknowledge that we are gathered on the traditional territory of the Musqueam, Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh peoples. And for those of us who are immigrants or settlers on this land, it's important to remember that Indigenous peoples have always been here, and that all of us have a role to play in reconciliation. It's of course terrific to be here with my very good friend and colleague in Minister Sajjan, and my Member of Parliament colleagues from British Columbia in Parm Baines and MP Wilson Mao, and of course Minister Bailey, Brenda. It's terrific to be here. The last time we saw each other, we were in Ottawa, and our meeting was not long enough ever. So it's terrific to be here in British Columbia with you, and to everyone from Innovate BC and everyone who's participated in getting us to this to this announcement, Pacific Hand and everybody else. Thank you so very much. Of course, it's wonderful to be here to take part in an announcement where Minister Sajjan and the team at Pacific Hand have been so incredibly terrific from the day he took on this file at supporting what he saw and what Pacific Hand sees, which is a federal government opportunity to invest and support job creation, innovation, and the businesses that really underlie the growth and the opportunity for our people, Canadians here in British Columbia. But it extends beyond British Columbia, because what happens here, becomes an opportunity. And I hope we will all look back one day and see how important this announcement is in the growth not only of the economy and of jobs and of innovation here in British Columbia, but indeed how much it means to the rest of Canada. And for me, as the International Trade Minister, what it means for Canadian solutions into the world, which is what I really see this opportunity to be. It's a bit of what Gerri, alluded to a couple of years ago. Actually, maybe now it was more than a couple of years ago. But it's about supporting Canadian companies, the Canadian solutions, particularly in clean tech, which is really sort of very much at the heart of what our government is so focused on. The Prime Minister has a saying, and I use it a lot. We use it a lot. The environment and the economy indeed go hand in hand. Notre gouvernement, c'est que l'environnement et l'économie vont de pair. It's initiatives like this one today that will help to create jobs, build our communities across the country, and leading the world's green transition and making that into a reality. I thought the best way to talk about the integrated market is to tell a little bit of a story of how sort of the integrated market began and what was it that we were trying to solve? What is it that we're, and what is the opportunity that we saw coming out of what is just the dynamism and the innovation and just the chutzpah of Canadian companies? It's not by accident that there are so many Canadian companies that are born here that make the global clean tech list. It's not by accident. It's because we deliberately support them, because our country, this province, believes that the environment and the economy can go hand in hand. It is when we work together to support these entrepreneurs and these businesses to create those very dynamic solutions. But here's how the story of the integrated market and how it began. I, as the International Trade Minister, would see lots and lots of Canadian companies. And I found myself meeting a lot of companies who were looking for customers, as they should, in the international marketplace. And those very companies and entrepreneurs would say to me, often their customers, when they were looking to pitch business and they were looking to grow internationally, would ask them one question. So, how does this work in Canada? So, where does it operate in Canada? And far too often, there really wasn't a good answer. And the reason there wasn't a good answer was that we were ourselves we're not looking at our most promising solutions and our most promising companies, our most promising innovations, and adopting them here domestically. So we saw that in the medical devices and health tech space. That, in fact, is the first integrated market in the Can Health Network. And businesses would say to me, yeah, I've got this great solution. It can do it provides a virtual platform so that doctors or healthcare providers could actually could provide that care to patients. And but we don't know whose door to knock on. Which CEO do we knock on? How do we do that? And the answer was there really wasn't an easy way. And therefore, the integrated market was already born. And today, we talk about those virtual solutions as if it was just the norm. But remember, it wasn't the norm. It took COVID-19. It became the norm. There was also a scheduling system that was needed so that you could schedule vaccine appointments. Well, guess what? That solution actually came out of a lab at a university in Ottawa that wasn't actually created for that purpose, but in COVID, guess what? It became that purpose, and the province of Nova Scotia adopted it. Why? Because it came through an integrated market. So why is an integrated market so important? Because here, we're at the Port of Vancouver. You are a pretty substantial operation, right? But how do you select and choose and think about the right technology or the right innovation that might be good for your operation, that will help in your instance to adopt it, to make it purposeful for your operation? And in doing so, guess what rings really wonderful to me as the International Trade Minister? It means that we take those very companies, because they have been here, they have worked through your operations, you have worked out some of the kinks, you've made them better than when they started, and guess what? I then take them out internationally. We then take them out to international trade. And we've got a lot to be proud of, Canada, in our international trade. We have access to over 60% of the world's economy through our current free trade agreements. We have a free trade agreement here in North America that does over $1 trillion worth of trade a year. It's about $140 million an hour, if you really want to know how it breaks down. Imagine $140 million an hour that kind of goes through there. We have an incredible trading relationship with Europe through the European Union. We have an incredible, productive and wonderful relationship with many of our Pacific partners through the CPTPP, so countries like Japan and Singapore and Australia and New Zealand and Mexico on this side, Peru on this side, Chile on this side, because Canada's a Pacific nation. Of course we're a Pacific nation. And we're at the negotiating table with the ASEAN countries as well as with Indonesia. All is this to say is that we have market access to many parts of the world. That's what we do. But what is it that we've got to be able to take into those markets? These very excellent Canadian companies, solutions, made in Canada solutions that are fit for purpose to fight climate change, to build resilience, and to create jobs. Because when they grow here in Canada, and they're growing here at the port, they are being test bedded at the YVR. They're being test bedded at the Port of Prince Rupert. All of these means made in Canada solutions, scaled at scale with incredible customers. And you are a customer. You're adopting, and that's what makes the integrated market such a wonderful initiative that we are so pleased at the federal government to be working with. I think they like this announcement too. But we know Canada is the home to the most innovative technology companies in the world. So many of them right here in British Columbia. Nos solutions innovantes et durables en matière de technologie propre sont la clé de notre prospérité future. Our innovative, sustainable, clean tech solutions are very much the key to our future. I look forward to seeing the growth and the innovation that I know is here in British Columbia. Indeed, for Canada, from coast to coast to coast. And let's bring our Canadian solutions, made in Canada solutions to the world, because I think the world needs more of Canada. Merci beaucoup.
Transportation you can think of, and how fitting it is to have all of the trains and planes and boats and vehicles buzzing around us for this announcement, which really is about the reducing the greenhouse gases of the transportation industry, making it much more streamlined, efficient, competitive, and safe. And so now gives me great pleasure to introduce our third speaker, the wonderful and honorable Brenda Bailey, BC's Minister of Jobs, Economic Development and Innovation. Minister Bailey was elected as MLA for Vancouver Falls Creek in 2020. And about 10 years ago, Minister Bailey co-founded Silicon Sisters, the first women-owned and operated video game studio in Canada. And her driving force in creating this company was the lack of high-quality games being developed for women and girls, a gap in the market she set out to address successfully. Minister Bailey has previously served as the Executive Director of Big Sisters of BC Lower Mainland, helping young people to realize their full potential through mentorship. So please welcome my dear colleague, my old friend, and my steadfast supporter, Minister Brenda Bailey, who is truly a hero to all of us in the innovation sector in this province.
That was a very generous introduction. Can you guys hear me okay? I suffer from being quite tall. Not as tall as the Premier, may I point out. I had a little bit of a laugh because I saw it on the chair that was reserved for Elder Bob Baker. It said Bob Barker. And I can't resist making a comment that next time I see you, perhaps you'll tell me to come on down. It's a funny little change. But thank you very much, Elder Baker. I've had the great pleasure of hearing you many times, and the Eagle Song Dancers, who I believe is your group, also perform on many occasions, and I always come away with such learning, and today is no different. So truly a pleasure to be welcomed here by you and to again take learning from your words. Thank you very much. Many of us, I was introduced by Gerri, and many of us know that Gerri is a passionate advocate for innovative growth and the real creator of our integrated marketplace. Gerri also was one of my first mentors and guiding lights when I entered the tech sector more than 20 years ago. There were so few women there, so I have many things to thank you for, Gerri. I too would like to recognize and acknowledge that we're gathered on the traditional territory of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh First Nations peoples, and I say those names with great respect and with a personal commitment to reconciliation, which includes economic reconciliation. It's an honor to be here with you at the Port of Vancouver, and what a beautiful, beautiful location for us to have this terrific announcement today. I too just want to really highlight how pleased I am to be here collaborating and working with the honourable ministers who are visiting us from Ottawa, and also home-based here, of course, Minister Sajjan, the Minister of Emergency Preparedness, and Minister responsible for Pacific Economic Development Agency of Canada, and those of you who are with PACCAN, Nona and others, just a huge thank you. It's a very important contributor to our ecosystem here in British Columbia, and we're very, very grateful. Also, of course, the Honourable Mary Ng, Minister of Export Promotion, International Trade and Economic Development. It's always such a pleasure whenever I get to have time with you, but the work that you do on behalf of our province internationally, we share a file in that the trade file lives with us, and I just can't imagine a more devoted advocate. Thank you very much for your work, Mary. I'm also joined here by Nathan Nankivell, who's our VP of Integrated Marketplace Operations of Innovate BC, who has a long history working for our province and largely for our tech sector, so thank you, Nathan. Also want to recognize Peter Xotta, who's the VP of Operations and Supply Chain at the Vancouver Port Authority, and we just had a wonderful tour of your operations center, which was very impressive indeed, particularly the digital twinning of some of the oceanographic landscape, giving you real-time data, which you've then visualized, and it was fascinating to see. I want to also mention that Parm Baines and Wilson Mao are here, two MPs from British Columbia representing us in Ottawa every day. Thank you for being here. Just 10 months ago, when I was serving as the Parliamentary Secretary of Tech and Innovation, we launched the Integrated Marketplace with an $11.5 million investment as a key action of our Stronger BC economic plan. We launched the Integrated Marketplace at the Vancouver International Airport to support its work to electrify operations and to meet its net zero by 2030 commitment and to become the world's greenest airport, which they are on track to do. And earlier this year, we selected the Port of Prince Rupert as the second testbed of this important initiative. Pacifican's announcement of $9.9 million in funding today and the addition of the Port of Vancouver as the third testbed is another vote of confidence for this amazing work that is happening here in British Columbia. The goal of the initiative, of course, is to increase the resilience and productivity of BC industries, including supply chains, to grow BC's innovation sector by increasing jobs and global exports, as well through scaling up new BC technology products and services while reducing emissions and increasing safety through the adoption of clean tech solutions made by local businesses. Ports are just so crucial to our trade infrastructure. By expanding the Integrated Marketplace Initiative to the Port of Vancouver, we will secure our province as a leader in low-carbon innovation and create more quality jobs and economic opportunities for businesses while providing goods and services to people. Today's federal announcement from Minister Sajjan highlights the value of the integrated marketplaces and supporting businesses right here in BC. PacificCan's funding will expand the work that Innovate BC and all of our partners are doing to create unique, demand-driven marketplaces for BC businesses and industry organizations like the Port of Vancouver to come together and buy products and services from BC tech companies, scaling our talent right here at home. Our vision is to develop and sell technology solutions locally so they can be exported globally, enabling innovators, businesses, and entrepreneurs to create new technologies, products, and services which will create good, clean jobs while helping fulfill an important customer order. Thank you to everyone who is continuing the hard work to develop this initiative, our Innovation Commissioner, the unstoppable Gerri Sinclair, Nathan, and everyone at Innovate BC who is delivering this program. Peter and his team, who are doing leading-edge work at the Port of Vancouver, and of course PacificCan, for their announcement today, and all of the industry partners who are working with us on the integrated marketplace. And Minister Ng will have many companies available for you as you do your export trips. As the Minister of Jobs for British Columbia, the Minister of Jobs, Economic Development and Innovation, I so appreciate this collaboration with the Government of Canada. We're looking forward to working together to come up with creative solutions, building a cleaner economy today that benefits all British Columbians well into the future. Thank you very much for being here, and let me turn it back to Gerri.
I know, it's trying so hard. I'll hold it. Next, to speak about how today's funding will support BC companies and the overall impact of the Integrated Marketplace Initiative, I'd like to introduce the program's Vice President, Nathan Nankivell from Innovate BC. With experience in innovation policy, strategy, and program design, Nathan brings over 20 years of public sector experience to Innovate BC. If Minister Ng is the fairy godmother of the integrated markets, Nathan is the stepfather. I had used another, perhaps more risque term to describe Nathan's paternity of this project, but the comms folks edited it out. At any rate, he and I spent many long hours together in the early days of the project's conception, building the framework around a demand-driven model of innovation that he later came to lead in his role as VP at Innovate BC. With over 20 years of experience in the world of public sector policy, program design, and execution, as well as strategic leadership, Nathan has led a variety of executive director and C-suite roles in the BC innovation ecosystem. Welcome, Nathan. It was me who broke it.
I'll do my best to hold this up. So thank you very much, Gerri, and thank you, ministers, and thank you, Elder Baker, for this. And also just want to really recognize and thank the Tsleil-Waututh, Musqueam, and Squamish people for the ability to work, play, and learn on their lands. It's just a huge honor. So I want to begin by really thanking Pacific Can, because this investment of $9.9 million is going to make a huge difference, and not just to Innovate BC, but also to the companies that we work with and the companies that want to adopt innovation. So it's a huge investment. I know it's a new program, and you've taken a chance on us, and we really, really appreciate that. So thank you so much. And also, I really want to thank Peter. He's been willing to take a chance on working with us and actually letting us use the port as a third test bed. And so we think it's a great opportunity and also very complementary to what's going on with YVR and with the port of Prince Rupert. So again, our sincere thanks, and also our sincere thanks for hosting us today. Really excited to have them as the third test bed. It's just going to be great. But we're also really excited about the networks and the expertise that Pacific Can brings to this initiative, because it will be invaluable. And even the ability to chat with Nana today and start to talk about how we can link all these programs together to really provide a continuum of services for businesses. It'll really move the needle. And having the port as the third test bed gives us an opportunity to work with one of Canada's most important trade gateways, along with the companies that are responsible for keeping goods and trade moving into and out of North America. As Gerri mentioned, we spent a lot of time working with our government partners and stakeholders to build a new approach to demand-focused innovation programming. Our goal was to design an initiative that augments and complements all the great work that has made Vancouver and BC a world-recognized technology ecosystem and a center for sustainable growth. By focusing the integrated marketplace on the needs of potential customers, like the port, we're working to create new domestic markets that expand sales, opportunities for a wide range of products, and the domestic companies that supply them. The integrated marketplace at its core is rooted in the objective of helping our most important industries remove barriers and de-risk the adoption of innovations that can help address some of society's most pressing challenges like decarbonization and climate change, while also working to make BC and Canada's economy stronger and more competitive. Companies in the test bed shape their projects, select their suppliers, and identify the data that they need to understand and the benefits they're looking to accrue in order to select the innovative product that generates the right value for them. This performance data is then shared with other potential customers, creating a network effect that provides broader public and business value. The integrated marketplace has an equally important goal of also helping BC's innovation companies access local reference customers so they can expand, just as Minister Ng mentioned earlier. One of the things that both Gerri and I have heard in our time working for government was how hard it was for companies to actually get that local reference customer, and many sort of referred to it as a home field disadvantage at certain points in time. We think the integrated marketplace is going to be a big step in addressing this. So by connecting local demand with local supply, the program will be bringing the customer and the supplier closer together and creating opportunities for even more companies to work with world-recognized partners like Vancouver Fraser Port Authority. This is an important step in reducing some of the challenges both customers and suppliers have historically faced when trying to work together. As the integrated marketplace expands to the port, the projects will jointly embark on to demonstrate and validate that the products and innovations BC companies produce not only work, but exceed expectations when it comes to helping address decarbonization and productivity gains. And the performance data generated from these projects will help customers understand and assess a product's benefits while also giving the supplier essential real-world operational data that will help them sell to new markets across the globe. This shared benefit will help the participants grow, enhance competitiveness, and continue to create durable, high-quality jobs. Again, I'd like to thank the province, the ministers, and PacificCan for their leadership and vision in supporting this program, and also the port and the other test beds for their commitment to decarbonization and innovation. Thank you very much.
Gotta love technology. Even low tech. Thank you, Nathan, and really I want to thank Innovate BC, and we have our acting CEO Tamitsa Nijjar right over there, who's here celebrating this momentous occasion. Innovate BC is the supporting partner of this integrated market, and we depend on that organization to carry forth the vision and really support the innovation of all of the companies in this province who are working together to lower greenhouse gases and to make our industries more productive and competitive. So thanks a lot to Innovate. And finally now we will have our final speaker, who is from the port itself, our final guest this morning, to share how integrated marketplace has impacted operations here at the Port of Vancouver is Peter Xotta, VP of Operations and Supply Chain for the Vancouver Fraser Port Authority. Peter joined the Port Authority's executive leadership team over a decade ago. He's responsible for the Port Authority's land and marine operations, health, safety and security, and port and supply chain optimization activities. He's passionate about working with Port of Vancouver customers to understand their business needs and collaborate on solutions that make the supply chain serving the Greater Vancouver Gateway more efficient and resilient. Peter, I know personally, is a great supporter of innovation at the port and a huge fan and promoter of our Integrated Markets program. And it's safe to say that without his leadership, we would not be here today. So please join me in welcoming Peter Xotta.
Thank you, Gerri. I think all of us are caught up in the vortex of the enthusiasm of Gerri, and so I'm really enjoying working with her and participating in all of the activities. Good morning and welcome everybody. As Gerri said, I'm Peter Xotta, Vice President, Operations and Supply Chain. So the work and the initiatives that we're talking about are central to my role, and I'm very passionate about it. Like the other speakers, I'd also like to acknowledge that we're on the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh territories, and just to give my thanks to them and for the traditional welcome here this morning, Elder Baker. It's a pleasure for us to host you here today on this facility, Canada Place, of course, which is a federal facility and a catalyst for much of what happens economically in the tourism business. And I'm joined this morning by my colleagues, Kathy McClay, the chair of the Port Authority, and Victor Pang, our interim CEO and CFO, and many of the port staff. It's an honor, Minister Sajjan, to have you here today, Minister Ng, members of Parliament, Baines and Mile, and Minister Bailey as well. Last year, the Port of Vancouver, as was mentioned in some of the speakers' comments, handled over $300 billion in Canada's trade to other parts of the world. This, of course, done by the customers, stakeholders, and investors in this gateway. And it's an imperative that we not only attract that investment, but in order for them to earn that return on the business that they do here, a stable supply chain is really, really critical. And as many folks know, it's been a challenging couple of years. The Port Authority's role, though, is to enable that trade and create the foundations for investment in the gateway while we protect the environment and consider all communities. I'm very pleased to celebrate the opportunity to participate in the province's integrated marketplace to further advance innovation and sustainability at the port. Why does this matter? In recent years, the increasingly complex trade landscape, pandemics, broad-based supply chain challenges in British Columbia, wildfires, floods have been exceptional challenges on our supply chain. All eyes are on it, and from a port perspective, this complex landscape has validated and added new momentum to our long-time focus on leveraging data to optimize across the port. Our focus today is on increasing resiliency and efficiency, as well as recoverability amidst those increasing challenges essentially through better fluidity. To drive that forward, we have a recently launched overarching optimization program called Connect Plus, but it's really the catalyst for us connecting to programs like those that are being announced today. These programs join dots for the various optimization initiatives and stakeholders who depend on this gateway for their economic activities, and of course for the jobs in British Columbia and Canada that depend on trade. Right now, we're advancing substantial initiatives to optimize both marine cargo, some of which we saw in the Port Operations Center this morning, as well as on land. All of this work, though, is powered by innovation and collaboration with other stakeholders. The partnership we're celebrating today supports and accelerates that work in a tangible way. With thanks to the Province of British Columbia and the Government of Canada, we'll be moving forward with 3 important projects. The first will create tools to better anticipate demands on the busy intersection of marine and rail traffic in the Second Narrows near the rail bridge. The second project will leverage data and predictive analytics to provide longer horizon cargo forecasts to the gateway to support planning, really trying to get a better sense of the aggregate demand on the gateway from a supply chain perspective, whether that's the physicality of it, the labor, all of the dimensions of activity that really come together in this critical gateway for Canada. And finally, the third project will use data to capture tools to deliver near real-time visibility into how containers are moving to and from and around the gateway. The through line in all of this, though, is innovation. Bigger picture, this type of work strengthens the port's resiliency and ability to recover from disruptions, whether they're global supply chain challenges or those that emerge domestically like labor disruptions from time to time. Fluid supply chains are also more carbon efficient, and they support affordable access to goods for British Columbians and Canadians. So on behalf of the Vancouver Fraser Port Authority, I want to thank the ministers and MPs with us today and your governments for your partnership and support in advancing innovation and sustainability in Canada's largest gateway. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Peter. And well, that about concludes the speaking portion of our event. Thanks to all of you for being with us here this morning. And as noted at the beginning, Haley from the Minister's Office, right there, will now facilitate questions from the media. And afterwards, we'll ask the speaking party to please return to the front for photos. Guests are welcome to stay around for networking and photo opportunities, and have a wonderful morning.
The speaking party could return to the podium, please. Hi folks, we'll begin the media Q&A. One question, one follow-up, and please start with your name and your outlet.
Thanks. Mira Baines with CBC, and this question is for Minister Sajjan. This is in light of the 41 Canadian diplomats who have left India. How do you expect to maintain trade and business partnerships with India in light of this development?
I'll let my colleague, Mr. Ng, talk about the trade, but I think it's one thing that's very important for all Canadians to remember, that there was a Canadian who was killed on Canadian soil. The first and foremost that we are asking of the Indian government is to cooperate with the investigation. So that is our number one priority. And I think it's also safe to say that any government of Canada is the protection of Canadians is the number one priority. Obviously, the Indian government has taken a very aggressive, provocative approach in this regard. The decision that we had to make as a government to have some of our diplomats who are providing the support for both Canadians and Indians. When immunity is pulled, which is actually goes against international law, it is duty bound by us as a government to protect our diplomats as well. That's why they had to be pulled. We will make sure that we will continue to call on the Indian government to cooperate with our investigation, with my colleague talked this week.
Yeah, thank you for that. I'll echo what Minister Sajjan said. The diplomats that are the Canadians in India, of course, have left, and this is, of course, an act by the Indian government alone, which really violates. Okay, there. I don't know what part you picked up, but okay. So what has happened here is something that we believe violates international law and certainly the Vienna Convention. The safety of our diplomats is our top priority, and when the Indian government withdraws immunity, it's important. It's important that our diplomats are safe, and as a result, they have left India. Because without that immunity, it puts their safety at risk. I would say, however, though, that we still have a diplomatic presence, although a much significantly reduced one in India. So I want to assure Canadian companies that we still have presence there, and that they can still count on the Canadian government and our people there to support their work. For us, I think it's really important that we uphold international law, and now more than ever, it's important to continue to have dialogue and as Minister Sajjan said right at the top, we would encourage the Indian government to cooperate and to work with us. There is an active investigation going on. And that active investigation has to do with a Canadian that was killed on Canadian soil. So we will continue to let the law enforcement do that work. But to your question, we still have a presence, and we'll continue to support Canadian businesses.
Sure. And this question is for Minister Bailey. Yesterday you issued a statement just regarding the 41 diplomats leaving India. I'm just wondering your concerns in terms of BC businesses and people.
Thank you for the question, Mira. I think it's important to recognize that we have very strong person-to-person ties with India and British Columbia, and those, of course, continue. We also do have trade representatives who continue to work in India, who are Indian nationals working for us as the employer, British Columbia. But as the ministers federally have stated, of course, this is an ongoing investigation of a Canadian person that was killed on Canadian soil, and of great concern to us here in British Columbia. The relationship with India in regards to business continues, and we look forward to a resolution of this diplomatic challenge in the future. Thank you.
Jordan with CTV. Will Ottawa extend the deadline to repay federal CEBA loans by 1 year until 2024 as requested by Canada's Premier and the Canadian Federation of Independent Businesses?
I knew I shouldn't have moved it. I really knew I shouldn't have done that. But anyways, so let me start first. It's Small Business Week this week. Minister Sajjan and I had an opportunity to visit a local small business here in Vancouver. I was reflecting on what businesses tell me, and they certainly tell my colleagues here as well, that the supports that were provided to small businesses like the CEBA loan were absolutely life-saving. They along with programs like the wage subsidy and the rent subsidy were the very, very important supports that the federal government needed to do at a time when it was extraordinarily difficult for Canadian businesses. It's really heartening to see today that I think they would agree. It's heartening to see today that the jobs that were lost during COVID have more than recovered, and in fact, quite significantly. And that's good, and it's good for businesses. I know that businesses have asked us to extend the time for the loan, and we have. And in fact, the extension of the time for the repayment is such that it allows businesses either to repay by January, or in fact to get refinancing. They've got a year to do that, and that's going to help quite a lot because it's what businesses have asked of us, and it's to ensure that we continue to be there to support Canadian small businesses, whether it was throughout the pandemic or now in recovery, and to help them with their growth. So that work they've asked the federal government to do, and we've done exactly that.
I'm sorry for moving.
Are there any other questions from the media? No? Okay, that concludes our Q&A portion. Can the speakers stay up for a picture? Thanks.